Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with a follow-up interview with one of my favorites, Dous Technologies. We've got Chuck Ferry here, and Chuck, I want to thank you for coming in. You just reported your earnings last week, which I thought was impressive. Um, the street, we'll see. They're a little slow sometimes to figure things out, but they'll get it eventually. Yeah, I was just looking at your website, and I'm seeing a transformation of Duos Tech right before my eyes, right? So I think one of the most impressive things that I saw on the site was what I have up on the screen right now. This rail car, you know, you can see the track moving up and down, and you've
Yep.
got that camera underneath that is taking images. And we're going to see what those images actually look like in a minute, but it's an unbelievable how highly accurate and crisp these pictures are coming out with that thing moving. I don't know what that thing's traveling at, but it's pretty good speed, I would think.
Yeah, so that is a picture of our we call it a oblique view or oblique vehicle undercarriage examiner. This is a new piece of this is a new component that we actually developed for a specific requirement that Canadian National had given us. The development of it really occurred last year, and I'll be honest with you, we started developing it. And this is really just as COVID was kind of really coming on. And we initially, it's really started in 2020. And we had, unfortunately, and this is when I had early on when I had just come to the company, we had made a commitment with an overseas engineering firm to kind of do some of the development for us, and they failed miserably, unfortunately, and that caused us to have to very rapidly pivot. We made a decision to internally develop it ourselves. We normally develop most of our stuff ourselves, but in this case, for whatever reason, we had outsourced it. So our engineering team kind of restarted, and in about 75 to 90 days, developed what you're seeing there right now.
Which is actually it looks like it continues to evolve, right? So now it looks like this right here.
Yeah, so we've got there's really two devices. One is called a vehicle undercarriage examiner. We've had that for a while, and that's what you're looking at right there.
Okay.
Image that, or the video that you were looking before. There's another device that also sits on the track like that. It's called this is called a regular view, and what it is, this is basically, you'll see that line of that kind of solid line there. That's got
right here.
Yeah, that's got three 2K cameras that look basically straight up, and they're called line scan cameras. So what happens is they're taking snapshots of the train up from the undercarriage, literally in milliseconds, and then our software, which is proprietary, basically stitches that together so you see a single image. The other device is called an oblique view. That actually has 8K cameras. It's a little bit newer. Both take pictures at full speed. Trains can be going anywhere from 50 to 70 miles an hour. That uses area scan cameras. Those are higher resolution cameras. And what they do is they're actually looking at oblique angles. So instead of going straight up and down, they're looking obliquely where they can see all the nooks and crannies up around the axles, the wheels, the brakes, the hoses, and all that sort of stuff. It's just a different way of looking at the train. That was developed in support of Canadian National, but it was done in about 90 days, and it's active now out in support of Canadian National.
Okay, so just so we're clear, you're not a rail car company. You're a technology company, right?
That's exactly right. We're a technology company that really are really what we're delivering is software and artificial intelligence to the customer. So obviously that to get that and present and make that AI work, it's got to be underpinned with really good software, underpinned with good IT infrastructure, and obviously good hardware in the form of sensors, basically. But really the deliverable is artificial intelligence and software. And that's really where we consider ourselves, as a company, if you will.
So I'm noticing that there are some expanded portions of the market that I didn't see before on your site, right? For example, the intelligent correctional automation system, which kind of grabbed my attention this morning, right?
We do actually install and operate some pretty high-end software, along with a version of our Centrico. That's our software user interface, along with hardware sensors in correctional facilities. It's a smaller portion of the business. It's something that our business has been in for, I think, at least the last 4 to 5 years. It's on a little more small scale. One of the things right now, we're in process of installing and bringing up online a correctional facility down in Monroe County, which is down in the Florida Keys, for the Monroe County Sheriff's Department here in the state of Florida. So that'll come online here a little bit later this year. But yeah, it's something that the business has been in for quite a bit. Strategically, we're in it now. Whether we decide we're going to push on that portion of the business or not, I think still remains to be seen, quite frankly.
All right. So since the last time we spoke, what are you excited about right now, Chuck? Amtrak should be something that would be exciting.
It is. We have been competing for quite a while to get the opportunity to work with Amtrak. We are very excited to be working with them. In particular, we'll be in support of the Excella 21 train that they are going to be introducing onto the Northeast Corridor, which is it's a very, very important strategic program for Amtrak. Obviously, there's an administration right now that's very supportive of Amtrak, as well as other transit and government-owned railroads. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of good money being committed right now through the infrastructure bills and programs associated with it. So yeah, it's very exciting for us, and we're looking forward to it.
Okay. Anything else that's got you excited about the future for DUOT?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is, we kind of talked about during the quarterly earnings call. It's a lot of the effort and the hard work and the commitment that we made in 2021, specifically to improve, or some of the things around our operational and technical things. The upgrades that we made to our staff, I would say the team building activities that took place last year, those all really began to now pay off towards the last part of last year, first part of this year. We were able to close now several contracts with existing customers that have been kind of delaying for a little bit, but also obviously with Amtrak, which is a new customer, and also Toronto Transit Authority, which is a new customer for us. So, it's kind of all starting to come together, and now we just want to make sure we keep that momentum going here for the next year.
So let's emphasize that a little bit here. So last year you closed out with what, 8 million in revenues, and this year you're forecasting what?
Yeah, we're forecasting $16.5 to $18 million for this year, and again, that is based on what we would call contract backlog.
That's already signed. It's done, right?
Basically we say it's in the bag, and obviously you've got to execute on it, but it's in the bag contractually, and now we got to execute our butts off to make sure we get it all done this year. Obviously that's a good mark for us. It's pretty much almost doubles our revenue, but really my goal is to get probably at least another $2 to $4 million of additional contract work this year, and more importantly, begin to now add what I would call contract backlog that now extends past this year and starts getting into next year, along with really improving our recurring revenue, our percentage of recurring revenue. So That's where we want to get going.
Right. So software as a service is definitely something you guys are shifting into, right?
That's right. And when we talk about software as a service, it includes artificial intelligence as a component of it. So again, we develop and we deploy software and artificial intelligence algorithms that rides on that software. But then both of them, of course, require maintenance and updates on a regular basis. And so that forms what, we're able to charge, recurring revenue for customers that, once they have those algorithms, they want to keep them maintained, accurate, and then introduce more into the system.
Is the thing that I continue to think about with a product like yours, is the insurance industry an industry that you guys would, I don't know, I know you don't want to necessarily, you're not going to call on them, but I would think that they would be very interested in the services you provide, right?
Yeah, they can. And some of our current customers have asked us to look at developing. So some of the class one, many of the class one railroads operate intermodal yards. And so they're taking automobiles, for example, either off the factory and or off a ship. They're putting them up into intermodal cars and then they're downloading them. As you can imagine, automobiles get moved around like that. There's a lot of concerns and liabilities associated with damage while you're moving them. So, we've been asked to take a look at some solutions where, you can kind of automatically inspect vehicles before and after, that they've been in the possession of the railroad, to try and reduce the liability that unfortunately they end up, taking on.
And I'm just thinking about, like, Amtrak, you're getting into transportation, you've got people on board and you're able to, take a visual or an inspection of these things as they're moving with people on board, right? And to be able to identify a possible problem while it's running, I think would be something the insurance companies would absolutely want to have.
Yeah, I think so. And, in the aircraft industry that I've gotten a little bit smarter on, obviously there's very, very stringent regulations around that. But, aircraft, as they approach airfields, they burst tons and tons of data that's being collected inside the airframe, the aircraft itself, and that gets forwarded. And then they conduct a visual inspection. So, the trains as they get more and more technology. So trains themselves, locomotives, and in this case, the Excel 21 train will already have on board a lot of sensors that collect data, about how the train is mechanically functioning. You then want to combine that ideally with the visual data that we're collecting. And when you combine both of those things together, and you're able to look at them and process them and analyze them either near real time or real time, you can really improve, the safety of that operation. And in particular, when you have people on board, you want that to be as safe as possible, of course.
So I just want to go to this is your deck and who we are, Advanced Technology Solutions Company, right?
Yeah.
But these images that are like unbelievable to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, like if you go to the one where there's kind of the individual pictures, it's just, I mean, you can literally see the embossed writing, if you will, on some of the equipment. That's at full speed. That's some of the example imagery that's coming off of our 8K camera technology. When our mechanical car inspectors get around it, they're blown away by it. So, you and I don't think I don't think you're a railroader. I'm not. At least I haven't been for the last 20 or 30 years up until the last 18 months. But when I get, very experienced mechanical car inspectors, I have two on staff right now, and they look at these images, they literally jump out of their chairs and they're like, they get very excited. You should see them when they look at these.
Because typically what happens is after the train goes through, it goes to the yard, right? And then you have to have a guy go and inspect every single car, right? So many points that they have to look at. But with your system, you've already got a set of eyes that are identifying, instead of going and checking every single rail car, they can identify the one or two that may be an issue, right?
That's right. So our system works really in two ways. First and foremost, a mechanical car inspector can sit behind our computer screen using our Centrico user interface and can, if you will, manually scroll through the photograph, the pictures, the images. And because their eyes are trained and they can literally inspect a train even better than if they're walking along the side of the cars by using our tool. And in fact, some of the class ones that we work with now run what they call visual inspection centers, where they use our tool and they use it kind of in the manual mode to do that. Now, as we've introduced artificial intelligence, that it can actually automate or if you like, it can sift through all those photographs very, very quickly on a train, and then it'll flag 4 or 5 cars that should be looked at further with what the fault is. And so right now, those railroads, because the regulations still require them to inspect, they'll go straight into those flagged cars to validate what's wrong with it. And then our software allows that when they validate it, yes or no, that information goes back into the algorithm to make it even more accurate for next time. So it's kind of a cool system where you're kind of working, really you're providing a tool for these mechanical car inspectors that really allows them to do their job faster, safer, in kind of in a nicer environment than what they would normally have to do it in.
Right. So if they're in an area where it's freezing cold outside, like maybe somewhere in Cleveland, I don't know, and having to go inspect the cars, that's probably not exactly a really fun job.
No, as you can imagine, I mean, Canadian National, they operate trains, up in Winnipeg in the wintertime. I mean, it's brutal, absolutely brutally cold. Kansas City Southern, operates their trains, down in Mexico where, extreme hot temperatures, I spent 26 years as an infantryman out in weather like that. And I can tell you that, humans suffer in those kind of conditions. If you think about drug dogs or bomb dogs, and I've used both in my Army days, you wear them out. You can only run those dogs for about an hour or two. They get worn out. You have to rest them, and humans are no different. So this tool right here kind of eliminates a lot of that. And quite frankly, you can see things better through these photographs than you could see it with a naked eye in some cases.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to me. What's unbelievable to me is that they're moving at 70 miles an hour, and it looks like it's a still picture, right? I mean, that's that's fantastic.
Yep.
So I noticed, I did notice airlines. I did notice this big plane here. So is that an actual opportunity for DUOT to build?
Yes, it is. Now there are other companies that are getting into the business of doing visual inspections of aircraft, primarily with unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs or drones. That solution is out there and you can find it. There's some companies that I think have probably become pretty good at it. We are considering taking our portal technology and applying it into the aircraft industry, where basically the concept would be is we have an aircraft land on an active runway, and as they proceed to the gate, they run through a portal, aircraft, by the time it hits the gate, it has now received the burst of information that comes from the aircraft's computer, which we've already talked about. Usually that gets burst down before the aircraft lands. And then it'll have the visual inspection, and all this information is now available pretty much right around the time that the aircraft's hitting the gate. So now the maintenance operators of the aircraft and the schedulers can be more proactive about knowing what, if anything, could be necessary for maintenance when an aircraft hits a gate. And ideally, what you do is again, you're increasing safety and throughput for those aircraft, which require, significant maintenance and inspections, as we would all expect since we ride on these aircraft.
So that's going to be a big portal.
Well, I thought it was a little crazy myself until I started getting with some pilots that I would serve with on active duty, and they said, well, it's pretty common. They have apparatuses that aircraft actually drive through because they hose them off. They have to keep them clean, depending on the areas that they're at. And I was like, oh, I never really thought about it or really knew about that. But they do. They call them aircraft bird baths or aircraft wash racks. So aircraft do kind of go through, if you will, kind of a portal. It can be done. Again, this would be something kind of new. It's a new concept. But the real key for this is not the actual portal with the sensors itself. The real key is what you do with all the data that comes off it, how you present it and work with it in software. And then what we want to do is take our artificial intelligence know-how and apply that into this industry. I was able to present this to one of the very, very large commercial operators, commercial aircraft companies here in the United States, and they were, I'll say, pretty interested in it.
I would imagine. So I mean, just so, and I'm going to back up a little bit here, because as your guys are identifying these things on the individual pictures, your artificial, and it's verified by the yard, then that gets put back into the system, and then now the artificial intelligence can flag it all on its own, right? It just keeps getting smarter.
That's correct. Yeah, what they do is they call us. It's kind of it's like a human in the loop thing. So you go onto a computer program or whatever it is, and it says, hey, I want to verify you're a human. And so it shows you the grid of pictures and pick out all the bridges in the picture, right? And so you're in there clicking, the 3 or 4 boxes. What you're doing is you're training an algorithm. That's what you're doing. You don't know you're doing it, but you are. So every time a human goes in and is verifying, oh, that's a bridge, or that's a.
You're making the artificial intelligence smarter to identify bridges.
You're making it smarter. That's exactly right. So this is the same exact concept. You've got humans that are interacting with the artificial intelligence algorithm, and so every time you interact with it, it's getting smarter and smarter. Thus, if you decided, or the regulation was changed such that you could rely solely on that algorithm now has become extremely accurate, regardless of the conditions that you're operating in.
This is fair. I mean, I just think this is such a fantastic story. I mean, truck inspection portals, right? I mean, there's a lot more here than just the rail yards. That is the primary thing right now that's taking all the focus, but that was kind of like the low-hanging fruit, right? The opportunities are tremendous. Yeah,
the opportunity, obviously, in the rail sector, we've talked about, obviously, with the Class 1 rails, but I think on a go-forward basis right now, transit rail, and then we have taken inquiries and we provided proposals internationally, but we haven't really pushed on it that hard. Partly because just been trying to fix the business and kind of focus on our class one customers. As we go forward, we're going to see more opportunities inside transit, more opportunities with international railroads, both transit and freight railroads. But really the larger addressable market really is in the trucking and intermodal industry. It's huge opportunity, and there's a huge demand. Again, this is where you've got large numbers of trucks either entering or exiting a large intermodal or logistics yard, and those drivers have to interact with some sort of a gate operation, and depending on the logistics operator, they've got to do 1 to 2 to 3 things. One, they've got to do some sort of a logistics transaction. Hey, I'm coming to you. I'm going to pick up XY load. It's got to be the right load going to the right customer at the right time, all that sort of stuff, right? Or I'm dropping it off. The second piece is sometimes they require a mechanical or safety inspection to enter or exit a facility. So some operators need an actual visual inspection, just like we do with the trains, to say, hey, is the truck in good physical condition? Has it been damaged since I saw it last time? Are the tires in good condition? Whatever, kind of safety type stuff. And then in some cases, they require a security inspection. So depending on the load that they're carrying, again, our system can see if there's any, identifiable, bombs or, things that are out of the ordinary around a vehicle to basically take place of a human that otherwise would have to go into a search pit, with a mirror and a flashlight and get real close and personal with the vehicle, to see if there's anything wrong with, wrong with it. This is something that we used to do quite a bit, obviously in Iraq and Afghanistan during my combat deployments, and it's very dangerous. Our system can literally do that automatically and kind of make that a whole lot safer, if you will.
So this just dawned on me like right now, and only because there was a big bust here in Las Vegas. I can't remember how many pounds of, I think it was cocaine or some illegal drug,
right.
in a truck, a flatbed, or not a flatbed, but a big commercial truck surrounded by tomatoes, right? So I mean, I don't know if that is something that you guys would be able to identify with one of your portals or not.
It is. So in that case, if it's inside a vehicle like that, you would use a form of X-ray, which there are companies out there that have good good X-ray scanners, and they're getting better. They're expensive, but they are very good, and they can be good. But ideally, what you'd want to do that, you'd want to add that to your array of sensors. So you'd have a mix of sensors, right? Some are looking at the surface. Others may be looking, at the inside of the vehicle. Again, through a set of software and artificial intelligence, you try to automate that and make it so it could be done, if you will, remotely and or automatically. And obviously, you want to make it faster. Think about the lines that you see at the United States border between the U.S. and Mexico, and the amount of traffic that needs to move across those borders. Not just people traffic, but also vehicle traffic. All the commerce that goes across those borders needs those types of inspections.
Right. So there could be potentially, maybe with one of the X-ray companies, some kind of a JV on your portals, right?
It could be, and we've been in discussion with a couple of them. There is some good technology out there, but the concept is, look, we can add additional types of sensors into our portal. As a former special operations officer, I mean, you've got, I'll say, day optical cameras. You can put infrared cameras. You can put thermal cameras. You could have laser sensors that measure things. You could have X-ray. You could have things that replicate, where you're smelling things or detecting chemicals.
Detecting, right.
Sensors. And those can all be arrayed inside a portal-like device. And then again, delivered in the same manner. So I think that's, as time progresses, I think that's where we'll see some of this technology go.
Fantastic. All right, so let's talk about, you just did a cap raise, and I know that, some people probably weren't crazy about that. I like to talk about charts,
Yeah.
technical
Yeah.
stuff.
Where are we right now? I haven't looked this morning, so I gotta probably not where I want, but
Like I said, I think sometimes the street's just a little slow to figure things out. But as I look at the chart, you have a couple of things that are happening. You've got what's actually could be called a reverse head and shoulders pattern, which is this, the heads here, shoulders here, shoulders here. You're pulling back right now, for the whole small cap, and we've talked about this before, small cap, micro cap space is not exactly the hottest space, hasn't been for 11 months, but the stock has been trading really within inside of a box. Now, to me, you do have this low point right here. I could see the stock going back down and testing that area, only to confirm that is the bottom, if that makes any sense to you. That would make it a double bottom, and then if it held, then you start moving back up. What is nice to see is that these two lines here, this blue and yellow line, that's the 50-day exponential moving average and the 50-day simple moving average. Those are flattening as opposed to going down, which is a good sign, right? It just means you're in this consolidation period. I don't know that anybody is really in charge of the stock, bulls or bears. It's just kind of this indecisive period, right? But I think if you continue to put up, I mean, you're going to double the revenues, and this is not a pie in the sky. We maybe might. This is a done deal. These are contracts that are signed, right?
Yeah.
So, and like you said, it's a matter of executing and getting them done. But let's keep this. I think it's really important for people to think about the fact that this company has made this transformation and is doing these things in the face of a pandemic, supply chain issues, lots of stuff that most companies, people didn't expect to be happening, right?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, when I thought about it as I was typing up my notes for the earnings call, it's like, okay, 2021 is in the bag now, but when I think about it and you look at it in hindsight, we're trying to transform the company literally during a pandemic, trying to solve the supply chain challenges that we've had. And then really during the second half of the year, and even more so just in the last couple of months, has been inflation, which everybody knows all about and knows, why, but it's, so yeah, but despite all that, I think we're in good shape right now, Tim. We're gonna have a good year.
Right. And here's the way I view things. If a company is able to execute in a climate like this, what's it going to be like when things get back to, real normal, right? I mean, you've made adjustments, you've changed suppliers you've got now local suppliers, right? That you can get together with and collaborate with in person. I mean, there's a lot of positive things that are happening.
Yeah, I think we're probably one of many companies that have worked on this problem set. For us, 90% of our suppliers right now are in the United States. And just about everything that we're getting fabricated right now is largely it's in the United States or here in North Florida. So that's made our supply chain more predictable. It's still not completely predictable, but it's made it more predictable. And it's also allowed us, we've also worked hard to get better terms. Obviously, you're trying to, you're constantly trying to get better terms and things like that to make sure you can get supplies when you want them, but then also not have to, obviously husband your cash, best you can and not have, these days, it's actually better to have some inventory on hand. But you still don't want to have too much of it, especially when you're a small company like us.
So you guys also, just so we're clear on this, your portals that you put up, you guys do the installation of those. You don't sub that out, right?
That's correct. Those are all self-performed. And again, one of the cost-saving measures that we took in 2021 was actually to do even more self-performance. So In previous years, we would supervise a job, but we hired a lot of outside contractors to do kind of a lot of the hands-on work. Since I've been here, we've begun doing a lot more of the work ourselves. So I have, qualified electricians, qualified, IT technicians. In some cases, I have qualified welders on staff now that can do just about all this work ourselves out in the field. And we're able to, we operate our own heavy equipment. Obviously, we go rent the equipment, but we operate all that equipment ourselves and do those installations directly.
I mean, this is a fantastic story. Do you anticipate that you're going to have to, with the backlog that you have, are you going to have to hire more people?
Yeah, I think right now we're at a head count of 68 people right this moment. Our plan and forecast this year is to get up to maybe about 74 or 75. That head count between 68 and 75, we'll be able to deliver everything that we currently have in that contract backlog. If we go above and beyond that, then yeah, we may add a little more capacity. Right now, primarily the type of capacity that we're adding is really largely inside our artificial intelligence and software area, where we're making some real good progress. And I could see some of my current customers and future customers order up in even more artificial intelligence. That could cause me to make that portion of the staff get a little bit bigger.
Okay. Are you having a difficult time? One of the common themes that if I ask CEOs what the biggest challenge they have is getting qualified people. Has that been a challenge for you as well?
It is. I will say that our ability to recruit and attract talent is a lot better than it was 18 months ago. I do consider myself on a personal level. I haven't been a railroader but I'm a pretty good recruiter. We are a small company, and I have a philosophy that A players recruit A players. So we don't leave it to our HR team or recruiters to go find people for us. We rely very, very heavily on the folks that are in the company already and the various different skill sets. And when they're motivated and incentivized to do so, they kind of have a knack of finding, the next one or two, I call them pipe hitters, right, that are out there that we got to pull in, and they help us recruit. So, we don't want to rely on, kind of, I'll say the traditional approach, but people internal to the company recruit other people, and that's how we've been successful.
And that makes a ton of sense. And to me,
yeah,
this would be a very exciting company to join, right? Because you're a small company now, but if you got some smarts and you can see where this thing is going, it's not going to be a small company forever, right? I don't think. That's at least my belief.
Yeah, we certainly, I've told people before, I'm not really interested in being a CEO of a company that makes about $20 to $30 million. I know we got to get through that, and I've been through that phase before. I'm more interested in being a CEO for a company that's pushing, several hundreds of millions of dollars with real value. And it's, and I've taken companies where we had, less than 50 people, and 4 or 5 years later, we had 1,200 people. And when you do that, it sounds like it's a lot, but that's actually about the size of a rifle battalion that I commanded, over 10 years ago now. Those kind of organizations can still be very cool, neat, and fun organizations, and very productive, valuable organizations, even at that size, in my opinion, if they have the right leadership and they've kind of been built, and kind of grown in the right way.
I love the story, Chuck. I think you know that already. If there's anything that you feel as though I haven't covered in this follow-up, this is the time to bring it up.
Yeah, I think I'd be interested in your opinion as an investor or someone that does invest in companies like us. As you see companies like us, what makes companies attractive if you will, for kind of long-term investment from your perspective, Tim? This is
Well,
what you're living.
it's the total addressable size of the market, right? More importantly to me than anything else is leadership. I mean, that is the biggest key for me, right? Because you can have a great service, you can have a great product, but if you don't have great leadership, I think the odds are stacked against you. And I have told you this before, leadership just emanates from you. I felt that from you the very first time we met, and it has not changed to this point, right? I think you have a clear vision. I think you are executing. I think you're doing it in a time when a lot of companies are struggling to execute. And that speaks volumes, because I think to myself, when things get better, how is this guy going to execute? Right. And I'm not just, it's not all you. I know it's not all Chuck, but
No, we got a great team is what we got.
right. I mean, you're bringing in the right people. You made some difficult choices. You made some changes with the technical team, right? But those changes, and it kind of set you back a little bit a few quarters ago, right?
Yeah, it did. It was like I said, that period in 2021, I was like, man, we got to keep at it, but it can get discouraging at times. So, but again, we came through. So it was,
But those changes have those were the right changes to make, right? I mean, it was a gamble or a risk, or I guess some people could say, but they were the right changes to make. And you can see that from what you've been able to accomplish up to this point, right?
Yeah.
So those things are extremely important to me. And when I look at your product, I love software as a service. I love recurring revenue models, right? And I think we talked about that before. And
Yeah.
you even indicated, you said, look, it's not as big of a portion of our revenue as I want it to be, but you're going in that direction, right? And I believe you're going to get there. And then when you have that reoccurring, when it's a larger piece of your business, that's a very predictable, very easy, high margin, predictable, reoccurring revenue model. And I love that model, right? And I think you've got a moat of what you're doing. I think you've got a moat around what it is you're providing, right? I think would take somebody a long time to catch up. So
Yeah, we talked about this before. We don't right this moment have what I would say any true head-to-head competitors right this moment. We got a couple that are close, but they're not. It's not like a true head-to-head competitor. Again, we never want to be comfortable with that. Is always my philosophy. Never want to be comfortable with that, because it will happen at some point. But I think that being able to really take the gains that we've gotten this last year, keep applying them, and then producing true growth. And then I think one of the things we want to demonstrate this year, we haven't announced it, but obviously we had a certain number we wanted to hit for Q4, and we did hit that number. We've got a number we want to try and hit for Q1. I'm pretty certain right now we are going to hit it. And so I'm going to try to give a more predictable kind of analysis of where we're going to hit. It may be kind of a quarter to quarter basis, but we kind of want to re-earn, if you will, our reputation and our ability to kind of predict, what the business is actually going to do and deliver.
And I'll be honest with you, the things that I'm looking for, I want to see, an expanse out of just the rails into a meaningful contract in one of these other areas that you're looking at, right?
Yeah.
Because then you start to really get a grasp of how big the total addressable market can be, right?
Yeah.
I just think that the opportunity is absolutely massive for this company, and I don't think it's recognized. And I think a lot of it has, there's probably a lot of investors out there that have been involved or were involved in the company a long time ago. And if they just hear the name, probably it makes them cringe, right? Because of the past performance of the stock.
It's very possible, yes.
I mean, that's possible. So, seeing they're not aware of the fact that there is a whole new regime there. There's a whole new team. There's a whole new energy. They're just not clued into that yet. At some point, it's going to happen, right? I think the other thing too is partnerships or joint ventures with somebody. I think actually, honestly, and I hope it doesn't happen too soon, because I don't want this to happen too soon. I think you're an acquisition target, right? I think somebody takes you guys out, but I would not like to see that happen now.
Truth be told, we've had a number of folks approach us about that, and I've been pretty adamant about it. I'm not interested in that right now. And I don't think we will be for several years. So if folks out there think that, yeah, you're right. Of course, we're an acquisition target. I'm actually more interested in acquiring other things here over the next couple of years. And I think you'll see, I'm hopeful, at least one acquisition later this year, hopefully. But again, we want to be thoughtful, and we want it to be real. and
right.
And that's really if
I mean, that's the thing with young companies, that they're sure. I mean, would it be nice if you got taken out and I don't know, just to throw a number out, $10 a share? Oh, that's wonderful. But it's really not wonderful if the company has the opportunity to grow significantly, and then a couple of years down the road you're getting taken out for $50 a share. That to me is significant, right? And I think that is absolutely possible if you continue to execute, right? That's my belief.
Yeah, I like those numbers where that you're thinking a lot better. Absolutely.
All right, Chuck, listen, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming in and giving me the time. Hold on one second. I'm going to stop recording unless there's anything else you got.
No, have a good one, Tim. Thanks for talking.
All right, hold on a second here. Thanks for tuning in to Alpha Wolf Trading and watching today's interview. Today we had Dous Technologies, ticker symbol DUOT, CEO Chuck Ferry. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, why not give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.